Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady, Kannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard.
Let's go!
As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Kannon.
Welcome in, everybody, and welcome back. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. I am Brady Kannon, along with James Salinas and Mike Pritchard. It is week 4 in the 2024 NFL season, episode number 6 of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Thanks again for checking in and listening to the program. We hope you enjoy everything you've heard so far. We've got a long way to go before this season is over. It is over for many in Circa Survivor, but we'll get there in just a minute. Let's go over some of the results from week 3 in the NFL. We'll start with the Westgate SuperContest. The consensus 5 got to the positive side of the ledger in week 3. 3-2 was the number for the most popular 5 picks in the Westgate SuperContest. Through 3 weeks, they are still below 500. The consensus is 6-8-1. In the Circa Sports Million, the consensus 5 in week 3 also went 3-2. Through 3 weeks, the Circa consensus 5 just 4-11. Now, as far as our entries here, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, we went 3-2 in both contests. We are 8-7 in the Circa Sports Million, and in the Westgate Super Contest, we have 8.5 points. We're in the top 20% in the Circa Sports Million. We're in the top 22% in the Westgate Super Contest. So still treading water, doing okay through the first 3 weeks of the season. Circa Survivor, us along with 13,000 others, are no longer involved in this contest. What a rate of elimination, Mr. Pritchard. You were talking about that really scaring you, and rightly so. 642 entries remain after just 3 weeks of NFL football. 95% of the field has been eliminated in just 3 weeks. Absolutely unbelievable. The biggest culprit, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are responsible for eliminating almost 6,000 entries. Over 40% of the field has quite the disdain for the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, enough of that. Let's get to week 4. Like we always do, we'll start with you, Mr. Salinas. What is a game that is on your radar this week?
Let's jump right to it. I have one of the top games on my card and looking at Pittsburgh again. And sometimes you get this early in the season where you just find a team and your handicap was on point for this one. This one is for the Steelers. We've taken them a couple times so far this season, and it's another team I'm going to advocate for this week. And thinking about where they're going. Yes, now they're 3-0 and feeling good about themselves and going on the road. But I think, fellas, this is where now we're into week 4. We're a quarter into the season, basically. And this is where injuries are. You start to look at these practice reports and these injury reports, and that list gets longer and longer. I start to have to scroll further and further down my screen, start to getting a good workout, a little carpal tunnel going when it comes to trying to look at all of these injuries that are popping up now. And not so much on Pittsburgh's side. Alex Highsmith will not be in this game, stud linebacker for the Steelers. But aside from that, they're relatively healthy, coming through unscathed, not only in the record books when it comes to a 3-0 record, but looking at where they are from an injury perspective, that is not the case, fellas, for the Indianapolis Colts. So as we speak right now, I'm pulling up, and I did pull up Indianapolis's practice report for the last 3 days. They have posted Fridays. And I think this is something that's really key. There's the injury reports and their status, but there's also the practice reports. And there's a couple in particular that I want to talk about. And I want to kind of get your perspective on this, Pritch, as someone who's been there and done that and lived this for 9 years in the NFL. Looking at certain players. Now, we know defensively that it's a bit of struggle all season. There's been a struggle last year for the Indianapolis Colts defensively, but looking at their defense now, we know Brent's, their star corner, is out. He's out for the season. Kenny Moore, really their box safety, dropping down. He is not going to play in this game. Neither is Kwity Paye. We know Buckner's out on IR as well. But a couple of offensive linemen, Pritch, and this is where we start. You kind of have to read. You have to read between the lines or tea leaves or whatever cliche we want to put towards it. But a couple key offensive linemen. Number one, Braden Smith, offensive tackle. He is listed as questionable. Did not practice on Wednesday. Was a full go on Thursday. Did not practice on Friday. And then the center position, which is obviously really key, especially with a young quarterback behind him at center, and Ryan Kelly. He is questionable. Now, it says questionable, Pritch, with a neck injury, but he did not practice either Thursday or today, Friday. No practices for those key offensive linemen, but they're both listed as questionable. What does that mean in your eyes when it comes to reading these practice reports versus the injury?
Yeah, we're all questionable, to be honest with you guys. I had surgery in training camp on my left knee, and basically they took out my meniscus, right? So the entire year I was questionable. It wasn't until I started to get the swelling out or I could control the swelling, and then certainly play with pain. And then there's this shot called Toradol that kind of erases questionable and you're good to go. So it depends on the injury, right? When you think about some of the injuries that are out there, like Ryan Kelly with the neck, they're going to be extra cautious with that situation. I don't see him playing. Braden Smith, though, he's got a knee issue, right? So he practiced on Wednesday, did not practice. Actually, he did not practice Wednesday, and then he was a full participant yesterday and then did not practice again today. So it kind of indicates right there that his knee is flaring up on him, and maybe that's going to give him some problems. But again, like I said, as you get closer to the game and they're able to administer some medicine, maybe you can go either way. Though, with those type of injuries, these guys are compromised, right? And they're compromised against a stout defensive line, even without Highsmith. I mean, I think the Steelers, which are 3-0-0, by the way, ATS, that's the team that people are probably underestimated coming into this year. So I think defensively they're stout. Offensively, can they score enough points? I think they can. I think they're getting better. They're always on my card, though. I've been high on the Steelers all year, and I'll stay in that division too, Brady. When you look at the Bengals, or should we call them the Bungles now? They eliminated everybody. Coming into this year, like they get these slow starts, right? And coming into this year, when you had Mike Brown, the owner, talking about, yeah, we're going to get these contracts done, and everybody's going to be happy, but everybody's not happy. Jamar Chase, very frustrated. I think when you look at Joe Burrow, he's frustrated. I think T. Higgins in his hamstring, I'll put those in air quotes, is now back on the field as he was frustrated with the franchise tag. So they have the full contingency of their offense, and they're probably more comfortable with what they want to do now that they have 3 wide receivers for that 11 personnel package. The only question now is that offensive line, can they protect Burrow against the Carolina Panthers? I'm not going to say that the upstart Carolina Panthers, because they beat and defeated a beleaguered Raiders team, right? So I thought they could make my card, but it's the Bungles now to me, Brady. So I don't know if they're going to make it, man.
Well, they're probably going to make a lot of people's card in the Westgate SuperContest because the line is 3.5 there in that contest. In the Circa Millions, they are 4.5, which is currently the live line as we record this show on Friday. So I imagine pure line value there. A lot of people will want to jump on Cincinnati despite a lot of injuries along that defensive front. And we saw how susceptible that defense was to the Washington Commanders on Monday night. Couple things. I think Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator, he will absolutely make that a point of emphasis in practice this week to turn that unit around. I have trust in him. I know he's a good defensive coordinator. And also, I think they were somewhat embarrassed on Monday night. And it can be a good thing to back a team the following week after they were embarrassed. No professional athlete, you know this, Mike, likes to be embarrassed. I would expect the Cincinnati Bengals to bounce back this week. And the opponent is right. You've got the Carolina Panthers. We know they're probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. They come off of a big victory, their first win. And we liked the Panthers last week. The change at quarterback, the team is really enthused. And now maybe reality sets in and the Bengals are coming to town looking for their first win. We'll be back with more. We'll wrap up the discussion here and continue on the other side of the Las Vegas Football Contest show.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best Keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. We were speaking in the last segment about the Panthers hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, and just a couple of more points on that game, guys. This was an angle we leaned on last week, and this was courtesy of our friend at Wager Talk, Ralph Michaels, and this stat still applies. Winless teams that are playing on the road off of a home game cover about 65% of the time. A winless road team off of a home game, that would be the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 11-3-1 about 78% of the time when that happens in game 4. And of course, this would be game 4. And that trend worked successfully last week. 3-1. The Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Carolina Panthers all fell into that scenario last week. The only team to lose in that scenario was the Jacksonville Jaguars. So a lot of reasons, I believe, to like Cincinnati here. The injuries are tough on both sides. You've got Deontay Johnson is questionable with a groin injury, and also Adam Thielen is out. So who is Andy Dalton going to rely on as far as offense in this game? Now, Mr. Pritchard, I know a game you had your eyes on this week. We shouldn't have a problem with offense for the Buffalo Bills, my friend.
No, not at all. I mean, if anything, it's probably questions around the defense because there's injuries on that side of the ball going into the year. And maybe people took their eyes away from Buffalo and what's going on with the Bills. But you got Josh Allen, who is on a mission this year. I mean, he's got disrespect within the league. Was voted the most overrated player by his peers, by the way. And that's never a good thing if you're looking for brownie points or anything like that. But this guy's all about it. I like the start. I like the momentum that they've generated too, as well. And it's a chance to catch some points here. I mean, the Ravens, I don't know if they are all the way there in terms of what their identity, what they want to be, who they want to be offensively. At some point, it's going to emerge. But a lot of times, they want to run the rock with Derrick Henry. They want to do things with Lamar, but they're not prolific throwing the ball, even though they have Likely and Andrews. I mean, I think they should be able to do some things. But they haven't figured it out yet. Whereas the Bills, to me, they have figured it out. And therefore, they also have those adjustments. We're getting into depth issues. We're talking about injuries. And then we're also talking about what else can you get to? Because this game is so much about adjustments. I just think that the Bills have those at their disposal more so than the Ravens. And let's eliminate home field advantage. These teams, they have such great facilities and home field advantage, or playing on a road and crowd noise and all that. Everybody's so used to that now. So I think the Bills are about it, and that's why they've made my card. We'll see if it made everybody else's, though, as we conclude the show a little bit later.
Well, Pritch, it's going to make my card. Now, you talked about identity, and I think that's something that we harp on. And I'm an eye test guy, and I'm a camaraderie and chemistry guy in particular, or lack of chemistry. And I wondering where the Ravens are offensively. We saw the change with offensive coordinator. They wanted to move away a couple of years ago in the offseason, away from Roman, and now they're kind of more of a spread out offense. At least they were last year, and throwing the football. But I think we've definitely seen a change in the offensive identity for the Bills, in particular in week 11 last year for Buffalo. That's when they moved on from Dorsey calling plays, who's now in Cleveland. How's that working out for you right now, Browns fans? But Joe Brady has simplified this offense. And since Joe Brady has taken over the offense from last year in week 11, even through the first 3 games this year, there has been no team that has ran more 6 offensive lineman sets. So they're going this heavy jumbo action. they're averaging 5 yards per play, 5 yards per carry on the ground, and 6.5 yards per play when they go big like that. And I think that's their identity now. It's simplify the offense for Josh Allen, and let's get out there and start running the football. And let's see for 4 quarters if you want to get hit in the mouth from that perspective. And I think that's really galvanized this offensive team. And I think for a Bills team, they're excited to go on the road. I didn't really have them rated as high as where they're at right now. So not as good a job preseason wise for me, kind of recommending or really grading these teams coming into the season. Now, I look at another team, and we were talking about earlier, fellas, about the importance of practice reports. And I think the challenge is this is a Friday afternoon. We know that there's deadlines depending on the contest and the time that you're looking at on Saturday to get these plays in. And I think Monday night is really the challenge, especially when we start to dig into these practice reports. And I'm looking at Monday Night Football. So practices yesterday, which was Thursday, actually for both the Seahawks and the Lions, that was kind of their Wednesday practice. And a lot of times that's licking your wounds and some walkthrough kind of things. But looking at where they're at going into today, I have not seen the practice reports. But to me, there's some key injuries on both sides of the football, in particular for the Lions, where we're looking at Ragnow. We know that one is solid. That one's out. So at center, they're going to have to move left guard Glasnow into the center position there. And this is going up against the front for the Seahawks, who already have 5 players with a minimum of 4 quarterback pressures. Now, but not knowing the impact of some of these other injuries, both on the other side with the Seahawks, in particular, the defensive line and at their linebacker positions, that gives me pause for concern. So for somebody like me, Brady, who digs a lot into practice reports and injury reports, I know we talked about this game pre-production meeting about where we were with the Lions and the Seahawks, but I just couldn't get there because of where we're at this time on a Friday afternoon, knowing that we have deadlines to meet. That one can't make it because I'm just not sure if some of the impactful players, if they're going to be available on Monday night.
Yeah, no, you really brought that to my attention, and it's a great point. There is an extra day there and one less day for us as contest players to get the full boat of information. I already have a bet on the Lions, and it's more of a bet against the Seattle Seahawks because I believe they're not necessarily a fraudulent 3-0 team. I believe they're a pretty decent team, but let's look at who they have beaten. They've beaten the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, and the Miami Dolphins without even Tua in charge, with Skylar Thompson playing quarterback. And they couldn't even put Miami away. You know, that game stalled for a long time before they added kind of a garbage touchdown late. And also, you've got double revenge here, I believe. I know it's at least one single revenge situation here, but Seattle's gone into Detroit, I believe it's 2 seasons in a row now, and beaten them. It was in week 2 last week. The Lions had come off of that win over the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1. They were feeling all fat and happy. Seattle came into Detroit, took them to overtime, and beat them. So I think Dan Campbell and company is ready to return the favor to this team. Ragnow is out at center. That's a big deal. Brian Branch is banged up. We'll see if he's going to play. But ultimately, I don't know if this is going to make our card because, like James points out, we might not get this. It might be too late before we get all of this information on this game. We'll come back on the other side, analyze a few more games here before we get into Circus Survivor, but we've got a long way to go here on the rest of the card as far as a against the spread perspective. So stick around. It's the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circus Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. We'll be right back.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas, but don't know where to start? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed in the biggest football contests in the world. Circa Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate SuperContest. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 15 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circus Sports and our friends at Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Good to have you back around for week 4 of the NFL, episode number 6 of the program. Gentlemen, I want to talk about a game that you are very familiar with, Mr. Pritchard. You used to play in this age-old rivalry, an NFC South edition this week in Atlanta. The Falcons will host the New Orleans Saints, both of these teams coming off of a loss. And I really couldn't figure out if I wanted to do anything with this game or something with the game. I made the line myself in favor of Atlanta by 1. I basically have these teams as equal and was just assigning home field advantage to the Falcons. Now, the line in the live market is 2.5. What are your thoughts on the Saints visiting Atlanta?
Yeah, they're equal in terms of coaching, and that's horrible. I mean, some of the coaching decisions going on right now with the Saints and the Falcons cost them those games. The Falcons, Raheem Morris cost them that game against Kansas City. And then you look at the Saints and their matchup against the Eagles. Dennis Allen has some questionable decisions too, in terms of trying to help the team out. It's a rivalry game with the fans. These players don't understand what that game used to be, as they both have underachieved for the most part. But it was a physical game, right? The Falcons, they want to play a physical brand of football, certainly with the coordinator and what they want to do with running football. And the same thing with the Saints. They got the same offense, really, with Clint Kubiak and that wide zone scheme. So it's about depth. It's about injuries. It's about matchups. Always will be. I could not come to a conclusion on this game. And the line is attractive, to be honest with you. I just talked about how there's no home field advantage. You're looking at 2.5 right here, a field goal game. And that pretty much just sums up this game. But as far as the contest, guys, I don't know if you guys got there. I couldn't get there just because there's so many variables going on with this matchup. And certainly the willingness to be physical. I don't know if that's going to happen with these coaches in terms of the credibility that they have yet to establish. Even Dennis Allen's been there for a while, right? So we'll see. But for me, James, I'm eyeing a game again out in the neck of your woods with the Broncos, man. That team shocked a lot of people when they took out Tampa. I don't know if they're consistent enough, though. I still think they are rebuilding, though, this year.
Well, for the Broncos, I think that was the perfect flat spot for Tampa coming home. You knew that week 2 game going back out to Detroit. Now, Tampa, last year they got swept and they got swept in Detroit, in particular, losing in the playoffs at Detroit in the second round of in the NFC divisional game. But thinking about, and they put it all out there, and it was a great effort from Tampa, and they wanted that one really bad. Now they're coming back home, seeing a bad Broncos team that hasn't gotten on the board, and looking ahead to a big game this weekend against the Eagles. Total flat spot, and those are going to happen. They even happened that early in come week 3 of the season. So Broncos took advantage of it. Absolutely, they did. Are they going to have a flat spot here with the Jets team coming off of a Thursday night game, having 10 days to prepare? There's some animosity there when it comes to Peyton and the coaching staff and Aaron Rodgers. Now, he was hurt and didn't get to participate last year in that matchup. But I think for me, the biggest piece here with the Broncos is they are really beat up at the linebacker spot. So they lost Alex Singleton. He never missed his practice. This guy has been regardless of whether he's played in Denver or other places he's been, he shows up each and every time, true professional. That's why he wore the green dot. He is the guy that barks out the signals and makes the play calls at the linebacker position for Denver. He is out. And you look at where they're at, they're really thin at the linebacker spot. So not only is Singleton out, Baron Browning is gone. He is out. He got injured in week 2. Josie Jewell, who was a mainstay at linebacker for Denver as well, he's in Carolina. I think Brady, we don't typically, or at least I typically don't lay numbers like this, but I think in this here it is a big number, 7, especially the hook, which is not great either, but playing that 7.5, there's rare times where I'll do it. I think in this spot here, I think it's great where Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to take advantage in between the hash marks, in particular, in between the numbers against this Broncos team on the back end, Brady. I like it. I'll lay it. Let's roll the Jets laying 7.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, James. You and I typically land on very few favorites, and I made 3 bets this week, and they are all on favorites. I mentioned betting the Detroit Lions. I have a bet on the New York Jets as well. We've actually seen the line go the other way to 8. There are already some 8s in the market, and I think that's something about reading the market that is telling. If you're not seeing that 7.5 immediately come down to 7 or to 6.5, I think that tells you something. And sure enough, we have seen it go the other way, all the way up to 8 at this point. This is another thing that I like to use early in the season through the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. And that is a team that you have in the bottom 10 as far as yards per play on offense, which is the Denver Broncos, going up against a defense that has allowed 17 points or less on average for the first few weeks of the season. So you have a shutdown defense in New York against an offense that can't get off the ground in Denver. I think this is going to be a whitewash in favor of the Jets, who, by the way, also come in on extra rest and a little bit of narrative street thrown in there for you. Aaron Rodgers may have a little something up his sleeve for Sean Payton, who got on his guy, Nathaniel Hackett. We'll see. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. You can check us out online at footballcontestshow.com. That'll give you all the information to find us wherever you get your podcast, YouTube, you name it. It's all there at footballcontestshow.com. Okay, that time of the program where we like to talk a little Circa Survivor. We'd like it a lot more if we still had a live entry, but we are one of 13-some thousand that has been eliminated, gentlemen. All three of our entries by the wayside, and just a record pace of elimination. You talked about it early in the show when we started recording this program, Mike, about your fear for the rate of elimination. Well, there has never been a higher rate of elimination than this year, 2024, in Circa Survivor. And I feel for our friend, Derek Stevens. I don't think this is really going the way he would like it to go. But the positive, first of all, we know that man can market and promote like nobody in the world. He'll figure out a way to turn this into a positive. And also, the positive here is he is getting a story that has become viral. You know, $14 million at stake here. This is not only a national story, this is going global with the fact that you have this many people eliminated so quickly. So that is the story, and that is good. And you got a guy like Derek Stevens in this contest and that property. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing spits out $20 million for a prize next year when we roll into 2025, Mike.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, there's so much FOMO going on right now, fear of missing out and all this stuff. And, the excitement of the game or the excitement of playing Survivor. So many people had multiple entries. We had multiple entries. And, sometimes I can get kind of convoluted, right? What are we going to do with all these multiple entries as we map out the season? And then the strategy of heavy home favorites, that has not worked. So there's going to be people getting into the lab, rethinking the strategy, certainly mapping it out. You got to do that. You have to do that, right? But then the heavy home favorites say, one of the reasons why I don't do power rankings, because as I ventured into sports betting not too long ago, I'm like, why do these people have power ratings, but yet they change each and every week, right? So you can have one team, the best team in the league, and all of a sudden they're not the best team in the league a week later. And so I don't know if you guys use power rankings at all from a handicap standpoint. I stay away from that. But for Survivor, it's going to be bigger and better as we go along each and every year. People are going to have renewed strategies and crack the code kind of situations. But it is an exciting winner-take-all situation. Let's chop it up right now to a little over $20,000 a piece for 642 entries. And if you got multiple entries, you're good as well, too, James.
Well, and you talked about where those numbers might go. Might this hurt the contest? I don't think. I mean, the numbers are so big now. I mean, that's the chase. It's a lot. It's almost like a lotto ticket, but you're not just spitting out numbers. You're actually picking football games, and people love to watch football once a week on Sundays, for the most part. And that's the hard part. And that's where, for me, I struggle with Survivor because I'm not look at who's going to win. I'm looking at who's going to cover, and that's more so on the dog side. And looking at this week, now this is the first week that we actually have a double-digit favorite with San Francisco. It's 10 and a half in the contest, I believe. I see it up to 11 in certain spots right now. They're obviously the big favorite and coming home and playing really a depleted kind of New England Patriots team. I think New England has kind of reverted back, at least for the one game that we saw on Thursday night last week. Now it's a divisional game against the Jets, but that is the biggest favorite on the board right now, Brady. So not only was San Francisco, a couple other 7-point favorites, but I think from a survivor standpoint, I don't know if you have the Jets available. I think a lot of people that probably moved on last week were on the Jets, so they may not have the Jets in this respect. But I think playing the big favorites now, getting from survivor back to against the spread contest, which we've done. Thinking about where San Francisco is right now, Brady, playing a New England team, also looking at the schedule that's coming up for the San Francisco 49ers beyond the Patriots this weekend. Would that be a survivor play, but would you also be looking at playing that game against the spread?
Yeah, and I think that's where I really have problems with this contest, James, is, quote unquote, trying to thread the needle. I think this team's going to win, but I think this team has a good chance to cover. And that's not always a great recipe, because we know in the NFL, the team that covers the spread actually wins the game over 80% of the time. And that's what's been happening. These favorites of 5.5 points or greater, that's the worst spot to be in this year. I think the underdogs that are catching 5.5 points or more are 14-2. And how many of them have won outright? 10 or 11 of them? I mean, it's just crazy. You talk about making power ratings, Mike. I have gone through seasons where I've made the ratings, and I've also gone through seasons where I have not made the ratings. But one practice I do every Tuesday after all the games have been played, whether I have a number assigned to a team or not, I make my own lines. And this week in particular, I was very accurate with most of the games, off by a point or a half point rather, or spot on. But this one had the biggest discrepancy for me. And I like to feel that I'm pretty in touch with the 49ers, having grown up being a fan of their team. I know how this team behaves. I made this a 6.5 or a 7-point game in favor of the Niners. I was shocked to see it come out at 10. Yeah, it's probably going to be a survivor play that's very popular this week because people are so scared of losing. They just want to take the biggest favorite on the board. I mean, we've seen what's happened to these mid-range favorites all season long. But James, I personally prefer the underdog side here, catching the points. I know the Patriots are banged up. So are the 49ers. We saw what happened when two teams came in walking wounded last week in LA. The Rams won that one outright. The other game that is going to be popular in Survivor that I think from an against the spread perspective is interesting, James, is the Texans. They were a popular pick in Survivor when they beat the Bears a couple of weeks ago. They'll be popular again this week, taking on a Jaguars team that was just throttled by the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, and we're having a divisional game and all the talk about, who's going to be the first coach fired? And looking now at Doug Peterson, he might be the odds-on favorite based on how it was. Nobody wants to get embarrassed. We talked earlier about the players and teams like Cincinnati, for instance, getting embarrassed on Monday night, losing at home to Washington. Well, what about the Jaguars and how they were the first half of that double? Actually, I love these double headers on Monday Night Football. It's terrific. Maybe stagger it out.
We need more of them every week. They're the best.
I know. I'm down with it. I dig it. Having two games on Monday is great, especially starting earlier out here in the Mountain Time. But thinking about where the Jaguars are, well, that team was obviously completely embarrassed on Monday Night Football, not competitive whatsoever. Maybe they quit. That's something to really dig into the psyche of a locker room there, Pritch. But thinking about where the Jaguars are now, going in the matchup against teams that you're familiar with within your division. And I think for me, I like the Jaguar side here, plus the 6.5 in the contest. Thinking about where the Texans are right now. It's a one-dimensional football team. We took Minnesota last week, liking the fact that there's no run game right now for the Texans. I highly doubt you're going to say, I'm sure both Pierce and Mixon are going to be out again. They're not going to try to establish a game with Akers. We also know Tank Dell and Nico Collins are also banged up here. I think this is kind of a matchup style where you have more of a finesse style of offense with the Texans and more of a pass rush, more of a finesse style defense with the Jags. They matched up well last year where they actually did the Jacksonville Jaguars in Texas. Can you get on board taking the 6 and the 6.5 with the bad Jaguars team in this match?
You know what's crazy is scoring is down and quarterback play is pitiful, right? And we're talking about taking these heavy dog situations. And for me, New England, I don't see them getting better at all this year, to be honest with you. San Francisco's looking to get right. This is what their homecoming, if you will, a cupcake city. Yeah, but the Jacksonville Jaguars in Houston, that was more interesting to me because Trevor Lawrence is up against it. Everybody's questioning the contract now and is he worth it and all that. If he's any type of competitor, he's got to respond. And then on the other side too, there was some talk coming into the year that the league was going to catch up to what the Texans are doing. That really hasn't established themselves as that consistent organization. And CJ Stroud throwing multiple picks. And so it's like the league might have caught up to him a little bit. And you wonder, can he evolve? So maybe there's an opportunity in that game, in that situation for Jacksonville.
Well, Survivor players, beware. The 49ers have 2 division games on deck against the Cardinals and the Seahawks. And the Texans, in my opinion, they just haven't been able to put people away. Haven't been able to step on the neck of their opponent. We'll see if they can this week when they host the Jacksonville Jaguars. More of the Las Vegas Football Contest show right around the corner.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Valley High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Valley High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at valleyhighgolfclub.com.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady, Kannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you as we continue to break down the card for Week 4 in the NFL. And this is an interesting game here. You have the Chicago Bears at 1-2 on the season, and they are favored at home, anywhere from a 2.5 to a 3-point favorite, and 2.5 and 3 in both contests here we're talking about. They're hosting the Los Angeles Rams off of a big win over the rival San Francisco 49ers. And you seem to have a little opinion on this one, Mr. Pritchard, between the Rams and the Bears at Soldier Field on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Quarterback play is down. But we are talking about Matthew Stafford, borderline Hall of Famer. Maybe he is a Hall of Famer. He's got the Super Bowl in his pocket, going up against a struggling rookie quarterback, and he's catching points. And we're talking about Matthew Stafford, who's played within his division. He's not going to be distracted at all going to Chicago, playing Chicago. I mean, come on. And we did see the Rams fight back within their division and take that game away from the 49ers. So there's a thing called momentum. I don't know if the books understand that, but certainly in the locker room, you understand that. And you can build upon that. People are doubting us. People don't believe in us, but we believe in ourselves, that kind of thing. And I know they're depleted because of injuries. I get that. But who are the Bears, though? I mean, I know they got their flowers before the season started. Caleb Williams was supposed to be all that. And now people are tearing them apart a little bit. Bill Belichick in particular. So there's some question marks there. There's some doubt. And there's some reluctancy too that I'm feeling in Chicago. So I like the Rams catching points with a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. How do you guys feel about that one?
Well, Mike, my biggest hesitation with the Rams is where are they at emotionally right now? I mean, that tremendous game last week, exciting game. We had the Rams in the contest, in both contests. I had a number of live bets on the Rams too. So I was fully invested in that game. That was a lot of fun to see them come back. And the way that they came back, really credit, obviously, with Stafford just being such the gamer that he is, a competitor and making throws, some sensational throws in that fourth quarter. Special teams, really, Stafford and special teams won that football game for the Rams. Highly emotional game. And now you're going to go on the road. This is the third road game to start this season, 4 weeks for the Rams. We saw that in the week 1 on Sunday night going out to Detroit. And they put it all out there. And you saw when they went to overtime, I knew as soon as they lost that coin toss, the party was over there. And it was Detroit just ran the ball right down. They were completely exhausted. And I think you talked about momentum. Well, I think that momentum of just exhaustion and emotional and physical exhaustion kind of carried over into that game against Arizona. And granted, it was a divisional game, but the Rams were a complete no-show in that game. Arizona just led from start to finish, and they were the hungry team in that matchup. Maybe it was the looking ahead. Can you look ahead that early from week 2 to week 3? Maybe they did with the Rams, knowing that they had the huge game against San Francisco, which was week 3 last week. Now you're going to have to go on the road again. And I think that's just my biggest pause for concern right here, is that where are they at emotionally? We know physically a lot of injuries, especially at the point of attack, but more so just the emotion. What does that take out of you emotionally? Yeah. And how does that kind of drain you physically? And speaking of emotion, can I make a case for the Bears? No.
Where are the emotions?
The Bears. And not so much. I mean, emotionally, probably there's just question marks in the locker room about the coaching staff right now. And thinking about where Eberflus and Waldron, it's a mess right now. And they're not doing anything to help the young rookie out. I know they got their flowers and all their hugs coming into the season, but you got to coach, and you got to coach the kid up. I can't say that Caleb, it's 3 games in. He may be a tremendous pro, but I don't know if it's going to work with this coaching staff right now, the way he's being coached. And thinking about coaching staffs and what they're doing to tailor the offense around their skill set. Well, hell, look at where Washington is right now and what Jalen Daniels was able to do, not only for the first 3 weeks, but in particular on Monday Night Football. All the lights are on, not too big for that kid. And man, he was sensational. But I think so much of it is that they've really tailored the game plan around his skill set. Let's go win football games. And let's, as a coaching staff, not get so hung up and be so damn stubborn about this is how we play. And you're just going to have to fit into it, Caleb Williams. Well, for Daniels, what did you do in college? Let's utilize a number of your skills, not only your skill set, but a number of plays that you ran at LSU. Let's build that into our arsenal as far as an offense is concerned. And you saw it absolutely blossom in that game on Monday night in Cincinnati. So now that momentum and all of that travels to Arizona. Kind of weird how that works out. Now you're playing Arizona. You have Kingsbury coming back to Arizona. It really, that did not work out well as a head coach. And sometimes these coordinators, they're not always built to be head coaches. You see that with Fangio. Fangio, great defensive coordinator, completely flamed out, not in touch with having to take care of all the things, being the big boss here in Denver. But thinking about this Washington game going down as a 3.5-point dog into Arizona, Brady, I was on the fence with this game. I don't want anything to do with the Bears, Pritch. I can't get on the Rams side just because I'm worried about where they're at emotionally. But thinking about this side here, I kind of lean towards the Cardinals. I know laying 3.5. I hate doing that. It's a short lean. It's just a slight lean light here, Brady. But can you make a case for the Cardinals, or do you want to take the momentum that Pritch was talking about with the Washington Commanders going on the road now in Arizona?
This feels like a game that you'd rather play the total. And of course, we can't do those in either of these contests, the Circa Sports Million or the Westgate SuperContest. You could make a case, I think, for the under, because both of these quarterbacks are very similar. They've both been coached by Cliff Kingsbury. So the defense is used to practicing against this type of quarterback, extremely mobile, talented arm. This ought to be a great game to watch. You could also, say it's going to soar over the total because of what both of these offenses can do. I'm with you, James, on if I had to play this game, and I talked about making my own numbers. I landed exactly on 3.5 with this game in favor of the Cardinals. So it's not one of the games where I saw a huge discrepancy and I investigated further as the week went on. But off of that Monday night performance that was almost nearly flawless by Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, I would expect a little bit of a letdown here. And I'm kind of a Cardinals fan this year. I think they're pretty darn good. I've been very impressed for the second straight season with Jonathan Gannon. If I had to play this game, I would probably lay it with the Cardinals here. We've also seen this number. The look-ahead number was 6 in favor of the Cardinals because everybody expected Washington to be so down. Well, now it's come all the way down. It's almost a 3-point move. And when it moves that significantly, maybe that's the time to go the other way. That would lead you back to the Cardinals side. I don't know if this one's going to make our card or not. Kind of split decision here between the Cardinals and the Commanders. We'll see. Well, the picks are coming up. We're getting to the picks in the next segment. Stick around. we'll get to the full card with you here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Brady, Kannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. And it is time to release our cards for the Westgate SuperContest and the Circa Sports Million. And of course, our Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money Prop Play of the Week. For the Westgate SuperContest, we have 8.5 points there. We're going to try and make it 13.5 this week. We are on the Jaguars, plus 6.5. The New York Jets, minus 7.5. The New England Patriots, plus 10.5. The Pittsburgh Steelers, minus 1.5. And the Cincinnati Bengals, minus 3.5. We will not have any pushes, gentlemen. Every one of those games has a hook. In the Circa Sports Million, we've got the Jaguars, plus 6. The Jets, minus 7.5. The Patriots, plus 10.5. The Steelers, minus 1.5. And one different pick here. We are on the Bills, plus 2.5. Only one game we could possibly push there, that being the Jaguars in circa a flat 6. And then, of course, the Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money Prop Play of the Week. You know we like the Jets. They are on both of our cards, laying a big number, 7.5. If that is going to get home, I've got to feel that Breece Hall rushing yards is going to get over the number of 67.5. Gentlemen, I will talk to you first. Michael, I know you endorsed this. We were going around earlier today. What is going to be our Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money Prop Play of the Week? We kind of threw this one out there. The game script, you play it through in your mind. How is this going to spell out? James, you talked about the injuries at linebacker for Denver. It's got to be a big day for Breece Hall, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with that, Brady. I mean, I think I was looking for edges when it comes to our prop play here. And one of them was, Kingsbury going back and playing against the Cardinals, little chip on the shoulder, those kind of axe to grind, those kind of things, right? Same thing with Hackett too, going up against the Broncos. He's at home though. And what James talked about with the linebackers in that situation with the Broncos, that's where you exploit that defense right now. Vance Joseph is getting a lot of praise for what he's doing with that defense, especially last week. But when you're depleted with injuries and you got a caliber player like Breece Hall, rushing the football, and an underrated offensive line, I think, too, for the Jets, right? So that's a good prop play right here. Almost came home last week with Adam Thielen before his injury, but with Breece, I like the matchup. I like the edge, certainly with Hackett going up against that team that's depleted at a key position that could slow down the running game. But I don't see that happening against the Jets this week.
Well, he had a big game a couple years ago here in Denver, and he blew his ACL out on that game. He ran all over him. And so back thinking about beyond, and that's the danger of betting overs in anything, overs in totals, overs in player props, those kind of things, is really thinking about injuries and thinking about our card here. Now that we're getting into week 4, there's going to be some players out there that are competing for quarterlies, right? At least at the Circa Millions. Where that number stands and guys maybe making some contrarian plays. I think for our card this week, fellas, it's not so much about contrarian plays and saying, well, let's go against the top 5 consensus plays, but it's more so, I think, finding a couple plays, and we've got a couple ugly dogs out here, Brady, a couple ugly dogs when we're talking about the Jaguars. I don't think the Jaguars nor the Patriots are going to be high on the list when it comes to most selected teams in either contest.
I think early in the year, you want to pick winners, no matter what kind of winner it is. But you're right. We're, almost to the first quarter of the season here, and you have to start employing a little bit of game theory. You have to figure now the Cincinnati Bengals and the SuperContest are probably going to be popular. And we've got a lot of time before the deadline, approaches here for either contest. So things could happen. But, people are going to shop for line value in either of these contests. And right now, the Cincinnati Bengals look like a valuable piece at 3.5 in the SuperContest here on Friday afternoon as we record. We saw some injury news come through on the New Orleans Saints, and we've seen the Atlanta Falcons move to 3-point favorites in the market. And in the contest, they are 1 or 1.5 point favorites, I believe. So, that could be a very popular play. But James, when do you like basically all season long to kind of look for those spots where you're against the grain a little bit?
I don't know about all season long, but I think we're at the point in the season where it's really situational. I'm so much of a situational handicapper, guys. I just think for the situations here with these numbers, I think that's an inflated line with the Patriots. And I think with the Jaguars, talk about a desperate team. I think Houston being a 6 to 6.5 point favorite in a divisional game, I think that's the situation for me calls for taking that ugly dog. And we've got 2 of them, boys.
And the 49ers and the Texans will probably be popular survivor picks. So I think we got 2 winners right there. That is going to do it for us, guys. Enjoy another weekend of NFL football. Thanks for tuning in. And best of luck to all of you out there. And all of us at the Las Vegas Football Contest.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.